We know when fire was used, we know where it was used, but we have no idea how it started. In the grand timeline of human evolution, fire is a turning point. It changed everything, from how we ate, to how we slept, to how we built society. Yet for such a monumental shift, there's an eerie gap. No single, universally accepted explanation for its origin. Archaeological records confirm that early humans used fire over 1.5 million years ago. But when it comes to answering how they first tamed it, silence. Yes, fire existed in nature. Lightning strikes, volcanic eruptions, spontaneous combustion, all sources of wildfire. But collecting wildfire and turning it into a controllable tool isn't just survival. It's engineering, it's foresight, it's culture. And it leaves us with a puzzle. How did ancient hominins, lacking modern cognition, language, or science, figure out how to not only use fire, but preserve it, transport it, and replicate it? No other human technology is so universally spread across ancient cultures without a traceable point of origin. It's as if fire was always there, woven into the fabric of human consciousness, before we were even ready to understand what it meant. It's not just a historical gap, it's a psychological one. Fire didn't just appear in human hands, it appeared in our minds, and that may be the real mystery. We found fire's fingerprints, but never its first spark. Archaeology is brilliant at telling us what happened, but far less precise when it comes to how. Excavations around the world, from South African caves to Middle Eastern shelters, have uncovered clear evidence of ancient fire use: charred bones, blackened hearths, and scorched stones. Some sites date back over 1 million years. But while these remnants confirm that fire was present, they don't explain how it was first harnessed. The trouble is that fire leaves almost no direct trace of its own invention. There's no first match, no ancient lighter, no tool we can confidently say was made for ignition. What we find are results, the aftermath of fire, not the process of discovery. Even the oldest known hearths don't tell us whether the fire was created by human hands or simply borrowed from nature and preserved. Worse yet, fire use appears so widespread in early human history that it seems to have emerged everywhere, all at once, without communication, without written instruction, and without proof of step-by-step evolution. That level of synchronicity raises a troubling question. Was the use of fire truly discovered repeatedly in isolation? Or was it something deeper, something embedded, passed down in ways we can't trace? When we look to archaeology for answers, all we find is ash. The moment of ignition, the leap from watching fire to wielding it, remains buried not in soil, but in silence. Could one of humanity's greatest breakthroughs really have started by accident? A common theory suggests early humans stumbled upon fire after a lightning strike or wildfire and simply kept it burning. It's a tidy idea, comforting in its simplicity, but the more we examine it, the more it crumbles under scrutiny. Fire is not a passive phenomenon. It demands action, care, and knowledge. Wildfire is dangerous and unpredictable, not exactly a practical tool for a species still mastering stone tools. Even if a tribe managed to collect flame from a burning tree, how did they keep it alive through rain, wind, or migration? More importantly, how did they replicate it? Because keeping fire alive is one thing, making fire is something entirely different. Creating fire requires dry material, oxygen control, friction or spark, and above all, repeatability. That's not accidental, that's systematic, that's experimentation, and that's where the accident theory collapses. Survival doesn't explain intentional mastery. Worse yet, the complexity of firemaking is often underestimated. Modern survivalists with training and equipment still struggle to produce flame using primitive methods. Yet we're supposed to believe ancient hominins did it without any of our cognitive scaffolding? Repeatedly? Across continents? If fire was merely an accident, it was one that required genius to sustain. The gap between witnessing fire and wielding it is not a lucky stumble. It's a leap of logic. And for now, no theory fully explains how that leap was made. What if early humans didn't discover fire but recalled it? Across ancient cultures, from Greece to Polynesia to indigenous American tribes, fire doesn't appear as an invention, it appears as a gift. A divine spark stolen from the gods, delivered by tricksters or handed down from sky beings. This mythic pattern repeats too consistently to ignore. Why would such different societies, separated by oceans and time, tell the same story? That fire came from elsewhere. One explanation: fire wasn't seen as something we figured out. It was something we were given, or perhaps something we already knew, passed down not by explanation but by memory, by ritual, by story. There's a striking parallel here with language. We don't remember when we discovered speech. We just know we have it. Perhaps fire worked the same way. A form of inherited knowledge that predates written record, predates formal teaching, and runs so deep that even the people using it couldn't fully explain where it came from. This idea reframes fire not as a technology, but as an archetype, something encoded in the species, something we return to rather than built from scratch. It also explains why there's no single origin point, no first fire starter. Because fire, in the human story, may not be an invention at all. It may be a memory. Science can replicate fire, but it still can't explain its beginning. The scientific method thrives on patterns: observe, hypothesize, test, repeat. But when it comes to fire's origin in human history, the pattern breaks. We can model early fire-making techniques. We can even teach survivalists to use friction tools or flint and steel. But none of that explains how the first person, without instruction, without precedent, figured it out. That moment, the true genesis of fire mastery, remains invisible to science. Why? Because fire doesn't fossilize. It doesn't leave bones or tools behind in a neat, datable format. Unlike stone axes or cave paintings, fire is ephemeral. What we find in the archaeological record is indirect: ash layers, heat-cracked rocks, carbonized bones. These tell us that fire was used, but they don't show how it was made or why people first attempted to control it. Even worse, fire doesn't evolve like other technologies. We can trace the development of the wheel, pottery, or agriculture across stages and geographies. With fire, it appears fully formed, universally spread, and culturally embedded, as if it skipped the prototype phase. Science, as powerful as it is, can't measure insight. It struggles with origin stories that are part technological, part psychological, and part mythic. And fire, in its essence, is all three. It doesn't follow a linear curve of invention. It's more like a flash of cognition, a moment of brilliance. Unrecorded, unrepeatable. Maybe we can't find the first fire because it wasn't a moment. It was a transformation. Of all humanity's breakthroughs, tools, agriculture, language, fire stands apart. It doesn't just extend our abilities. It reshapes who we are. Fire changes food, which changes brains. Fire extends the day, which changes sleep. Fire protects, unites, threatens, and builds. It's not just technology, it's culture, it's consciousness. And yet the beginning of this relationship remains veiled in darkness. No one can point to the first fire-making act and say, "Here, this is when humans became fire users." The absence of that moment suggests something deeper than historical loss. It suggests that the origin of fire is not simply a historical event, but a cognitive leap, one so profound, so internal, that it left no trace in the material world. A thought, a risk, a spark in the mind, not just the forest. That's why we can't find it. Because the first fire wasn't lit in wood, it was lit in us. And maybe that's the point. The mystery of fire's origin mirrors the mystery of being human, the jump from instinct to invention, from reaction to reflection. We don't just use fire, we shape it, fear it, revere it. So while the question remains, how did fire begin? Maybe the better question is, what changed in us when it did? That's the fire we're still trying to understand.